retired at Tramble, former teacher from Camden and also from here in Arkadelphia, here to talk to you a little bit about the history of Peake High School. Peake High School was named after J. Ed Peake, one of the principals of the old Sloan School and the landowner of the site where Peake Elementary School now stands. Sloan was a small wood frame building and was located on Main Street in Arkadelphia. The new addition of the Rose Hill Cemetery is now that location. Sloan School's faculty consisted of 7 members, and its entire enrollment was less than 200. Classes were offered for the 1st through 8th grades. The land on which the school stood was owned by Mr. Sloan. There were 2 high school academies in Arkadelphia at that time. Now we're talking the early 1920s. The Baptist Academy, located at 18th and Caddo Streets, and the Presbyterian Academy, located at 1700 Logan Street. One night in the fall of 1926, the Sloan School burned down. In 1928, Peake Elementary School was built. The original construction was one brick building, Peake Rosenwald, located at 16th and Caddo, and later on the agriculture shop on 16th Street. During the early 20th century, educational opportunities for African Americans were limited. Julius Rosenwald, who was the president and later the chairman of Sears, Roebuck and Company, and a friend of Booker T. Washington, was bothered by this fact. As a result, he established the Julius Rosenwald Fund in 1917 with the idea of creating more equitable opportunities for African Americans. The biggest legacy of the fund was the Rural School Building Program, which helped to build over 5,000 schools across the South. There are other articles on the schools, building schools and communities, Natural Historic Registry of Rosenwald Schools, which Peake Rosenwald is on the National Registry. And we have a list of surviving Rosenwald schools in Arkansas. And I'm giving this history from the souvenir book that Peake Alumni Foundation produced in 2020. Mr. Peake, in his will, stated that Principal Peake had expressed in his will that should his children desire to part with the home place, which was 8.73 acres roughly, Rosenwald inclusive, 4.5 acres, Caddo to Pine Street, it should be a school site for his race. August 22nd, 1928, the building committee reported that the Arkadelphia board would purchase the Peake property for the colored school for $4,000 for the erection of the colored school. The Arkadelphia School Board made the deal with the family and named the school for the man who had given so much of his life to education. Also in this booklet, for those who have already purchased them or who want to purchase one, we'll have a copy of the warranty deed for the property that was deeded over to the school district bought and purchased for the building of Peake. Principal of the school was Mr. S. Hildreth, and the land was owned by Mr. J. Ed Peake. The faculty consisted of 6 members: Mrs. Maud Wiley, home economics teacher, Mr. Roland L. Jones, coach and teacher, Mrs. Essie Cox Townsend, Mr. M. J. Hildreth, Mrs. Farry D. Taylor, and Mr. M.D. Caesar, who was the vocational and agriculture teacher. The enrollment at Peake was less than 300 and accommodated grades 1 through 8. Fast forward. Mr. N.B. Cook became principal in 1938 and served there until he retired. In addition to serving as principal, Mr. Cook was at times the girls' basketball coach and a classroom teacher. By 1943, grades 9 through 12 had been added. Roberta Jones and Sylvester Wiley were the first to graduate at Peake High School. In 1951, the wood frame home economics building and classroom were constructed. Peake High School did not have a secretary on its payroll until 1956, when Mrs. Mary Stevens Hill became employed by the Arkadelphia public school system. Some of your parents or grandparents know her son, one of her sons, Mr. Fitz Hill. He was the senior class president. He was also one of the presidents of Arkansas Baptist College at one time. Mrs. Hill was a faithful employee and provided continuous service as a secretary in the public school system for 28 years. Also in 1956, the Peake High School Gymnasium was constructed. An increase in the population of the African American community of Arkadelphia and its surrounding communities led to an increase in enrollment of students at Peake Elementary and Peake High School. This prompted a decision to separate grades 1 through 6 from 7 through 12. And in 1960, Peake High School, located at 1609 West Pine Street, was built. Peake Rosenwald became Peake Elementary, housing grades 1 through 6. Grades 7 through 12 would attend the new high school. Mr. Jerome Donaldson became principal of the elementary school in 1961. Mr. Cook continued as principal at the high school. That same year, the faculty at the high school increased in numbers to 16, with an enrollment of 319 students. The faculty enrollment and curriculum increased throughout continuously. Additions to the faculty after 1960 included a full-time counselor, coach, librarian, band and music director, commercial and business teacher, foreign language teacher, girls PE teacher, and a reading teacher. Peake earned its North Central Association accreditation in 1966. In 1968, Mr. Cook retired and Reverend W.T. Keaton succeeded him as principal in July 1968. The faculty at that time consisted of 22 members and the student enrollment was 375. Peake High School will be remembered as a link in the chain of services rendered within the boundaries of Arkansas, the United States, and abroad. The senior class of 1968 sent care Christmas packages overseas. During the 1968-69 school session, the final year of Peake High School, under the administration of Reverend Keaton, the faculty and students sent more than 2,000 pounds of goods to Save the Children Foundation. And lastly, an adult education class. The adult education classes were organized and taught on the state level of education. Peake High School's history is rich, and the legacy continues through the Peake Alumni Foundation Incorporated and the Buffaloes Foundation, which are comprised of those who attended Peake and or graduated from Peake High School. Both of these entities have given yearly approximately 10 scholarships to students who have graduated from Arkadelphia High School. These foundations work to keep the legacy of Peake High School. Everything that I've shared with you on the history of Peake High School can be found in our latest edition of our souvenir booklet. This booklet has not only the information that I've shared, but it has various other pictures and information about the classes, the people that have graduated from Peake High School. And anyone interested in it can go by the Arkadelphia Enrichment Center and ask for either Dr. Pat Wright or Patricia Wilson. if you would like to purchase one.